Hello, friends. It's Carla, your online doctor, with today's Live in 5. Today is Friday. It is June 26th at 5 p.m. Okay, so the latest article I read on COVID 19 is it linked to your blood type? Meaning, if you're A blood type, are you more likely to get the virus than if you are O, B, or AB, for example? Okay. First of all, what confuses many about COVID 19 is the dramatic variability in presentation. From asymptomatic to mild cold like symptoms to typical flu like symptoms to severe respiratory failure. The whole gamut of how people are feeling. So we know that older age and comorbidities are risks for worse outcomes. But what about everyone else, right? I'm sure genetics will turn out to play somewhat of a role in how people are presenting. Okay, we're not going to know this probably for at least a year or more as they try and determine who is getting COVID-19. But and I don't mean getting it, who is getting it severely, right? Because lots of people are getting it. So do we have different proteins on our cells that make us more likely to get infections? Okay, I've read that people who have taken the flu vaccine this year are more likely to get COVID-19. Okay, so just put that into your head, and you can Google it because there's a lot of articles about it. There are just too many variables to even consider that we have no control over, or that we can't take back. You can't undo your genetics. You can't undo your blood type, right? You can't unvaccinate. Okay, so if you did get a flu vaccine, don't be worried because there's nothing you can do about it, right? So maybe going forward, would you not take it if they find a link between the two? Maybe. Okay, so getting back to blood types. They have been linked to personality traits and even weight loss plans. In my opinion, this makes absolutely no sense, right? Even horoscopes are hit or miss. How can generalizations apply to 4 groups of people in the United States, or 4 groups of people in the world, or even 12 groups if you go with horoscopes, right? But these are millions of people. So how can you generalize, blood types A need to eat more meat, blood type B should eat more vegetables? It just makes absolutely no sense. Okay, now again, this is my opinion. If you disagree, sorry. Okay, so the article that I read goes on to claim that in China, and I'm going to actually post 2 graphs that I'm going to refer to in the comments, and you look at them for what, and you decide your own opinion. So the article goes on to claim that in China, 2,000 COVID positive individuals had a higher infection rate if they were blood type A. Okay, and the breakdown was roughly 38% people that tested of the 2,000 were A, 26% were B, 10% were AB, and 26% were O. But they made the determination based on if you had the blood type and you got infected or you weren't. Okay, so they compared it to a group of people, another random group of people, and they were determining if you were more likely in your blood type to become infected. Okay, so when they show there's a red and a blue. So instead of them being equal, like infected, not infected for both for the same blood type, they were saying that more people were infected in A than the non-infected. So they were saying A people were more likely to get infected. That was their determination. So it was disproportionately higher A infected versus non-infected. And type O was the reverse. They had lower infected people than non-infected. Okay, so you start to think, hey, it's better to be blood type O than it is to be blood type A. But what they failed to see, in my opinion, is how blood types are represented in the population. Okay, so in the Chinese population, if you Google the breakdown of blood types in that population, according to Wikipedia, 48% of the population is blood type O, 28% are A, 19% are B, and 5% are blood types AB. So yes, O type seems to be less infected in their sample by almost half. Okay, so if the population actually is 48%, but they only had 20+% people infected with that blood type, it looks like O might be somewhat protected. Okay, but A is more infected by about 25%. But what they missed was they said B was fine and AB was fine, when in fact B was about 20% more than the representation in their population, and AB was 50% more than their representation in the population. So, okay, maybe there are more A's that were positive, but that's because there are more A's in the population. Okay, you just have to look at the numbers. You can make statistics look like whatever you want if you don't really look at the reality of the numbers. Okay, so they looked at those also in New York City, and that's the second graph I'm going to post, with about a little under 1,600 patients. And they made similar conclusions, yet A type was 34% in the study, and in the United States, A represents 42% of the population. So they actually are less infected, in my opinion, based on your blood type. If you are blood type A, and only 34% in the study, if it's a true representation sample size that's reflective of, across the board, then maybe A is actually protective. And in the study, O was 45%, and in the population is 44%. So that's equal. In the study, B was 17%, but only 10% of the population. Again, that's over a 70% increase based on the blood type. And AB in the study was 4%, and in the US, it is only 4%. So that's equal. So again, there's no rhyme or reason to this study. It makes absolutely no sense. So what conclusions can you make at this time with such a small sample size? Again, 2,000 people is a very small number of people. In my opinion, there's not much you can say. So you can't do anything about it. Your blood type can't be changed. So don't be looking at this study saying, I got blood type A, I'm going to get it. Okay? Until they can prove a connection to blood type and maybe the ACE2 receptor or some other link, all this doesn't do anything. So do not get scared about something you can't change. Okay? I read that article and I want to tell you, I laughed out loud. I did. I said, are you kidding me? Okay? So I hope that gives you a little bit of, I don't want to say humor because nothing about this is humorous, but people are trying to make links that don't exist. They're trying to find some rhyme or reason because we don't understand why some people are getting sick and others are not. So, as I say every day, based on what we know today, wear a mask, wash your hands, hand sanitize if you can't wash your hands, and social distance. Until we know more, protect yourself, protect your loved ones, and take a deep breath. It's Friday. It's 5 o'clock here. Have yourself a relaxing weekend. Have a cocktail. Have some family time, social distance if it's going to be more than people you just live with. And take a deep breath. On that note, I hope you guys do have an awesome weekend. And I will see you again on Monday for another Live in 5.